Okay, welcome to Asagao Academy, a dating sim slash visual novel, in which you can date the guys from Normal Boots and I think maybe even Hidden Block. But it's all about the Normal Boots guys. Those are a group of Normal Boots is a group of game reviewers slash let's players on YouTube, and I've been a fan of them for quite a long while. And I can't say I've been looking forward to this, but I've played it. I've got one of the endings, and I've had a lot of fun with it, actually. So let's begin. The train made its way along the gentle curve of the coast of Japan, whisking me farther. I can already not talk. Farther and farther from home. Across from me sat a boy, face half buried in a newspaper. He was deeply entranced in whatever article he was reading, and hadn't spoken a single word to me, even when I asked if I could join him in the last compartment with any available space. He shrugged, nodded, and adjusted his newspaper without ever making eye contact. It had been almost an hour, in fact, and he hadn't looked at me once. Devoid of conversation, I took instead to counting the buttons on the pretentiously lush carmine seat cushions. 1, 2, 3, 21, 22, and so forth, over and over. Now and again I turned to look out the window where trees were blurring by. Sometimes the smeared green would break and reveal the quiet blue of the Sea of Japan. Eventually this rapidity made my stomach churn, and I went back to counting the buttons on the seat cushions. 1, 2, 3. The train compartment shuddered around us. My eyes wandered to the boy and his jacket. It wasn't the scholarship blue that I and the other students on the train were wearing. Instead, it was a green, varsity-like jacket, with an embroidered patch poorly sewn on the front. So you're a first day. So you're a first year then? He folded his newspaper neatly, set it in his lap, and looked at me with a half-interested gaze. Did he just catch me staring? Now that the paper was gone, I saw his face. He watched me through heavy-lidded eyes. His hair was immaculately groomed, his teeth straight and blindingly bright. There was something about him, the way the light hit him, that made him look like he was almost sparkling? Me? He glanced around the apartment empty beside us and laughed. Oh, no, I'm not a first year. I'm a third year. The train began to slow, metal wheels groaning against metal tracks. The sudden shift threatened to rob me of whatever was left in my stomach, but I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, willing myself to keep it together. What kind of impression would I leave, puking on a student before I even arrived at the academy? The boy frowned. I picked at the hem of my cotton skirt. That's not possible. I have never seen you before. It took me a moment of mouth fishing to find a response. It's because I'm a transfer student. He laughed again. A transfer student, huh? We don't get many of those. I removed my acceptance letter from the front pocket of my uniform. The paper, heavyweight, off-white, had accumulated creases from my reading and rereading, as if the words might have changed since the last time I read it. The book took it, studied it, and handed it back to me.
I'll see you around.
Well then, Hana, I suppose I'll be seeing you around. He smiled at me as he picked up the suitcase lying next to him. By the time I hiccuped a response, he was already gone from the compartment. I stared out into the empty hallway of the train. It was then that I realized he, having gotten it from my acceptance letter, knew my name, and I never got his. The train settled at the station, and I filed out with the rest of the uniformed students. It was early April, and the last frost of winter had come and gone. The trees were already green, their leaves shivering in the occasional gust weaving through them. The air was mild, only a few clouds hanging in the sky. I walked along the road with a swarm of blue-jacketed bodies, looking at the little groups breaking off from the crowd. Everyone was buzzing so animatedly around me. I held my suitcase tight in my sweaty hands. It was leather-bound and worth more than anything it contained. It wasn't far to the school, and I was, for maybe the first time in my life, thankful that what I owned didn't amount to much. My school-issued black Oxfords clicked on the pavement. I walked this walk over and over in my mind. So many nights I lay awake, imagining what it would be like to walk from the train station to Asagao Academy this first time. My new start. I always imagined that everything would change for me on this walk, that somehow everything would be magically different. But as I looked around, I realized nothing had changed. I hadn't changed. By the time I reached the massive gate of the academy, I forgot all about the disappointment slouching in the back of my throat. The school, framed by the gate's twisting black metal, was just as beautiful as the glossy photos I saw in its pamphlets. This was it. Asagao Academy. I glanced around. The swarm of students gathered around the gate. Beyond it, tiny blue people bounced around the academy's main building. A girl pressed a button to one side of the gate. The excitement in the air was almost palpable. A few moments later, the black gate, with great effort, creaked outwards and cleared the pathway. As the rest of the group shifted into motion, I followed along, a sheep in the herd. My stomach tied itself into knots. The crowd split off in different directions. For a moment, I panicked. A tired-looking man with graying hair called out for first years, a cluster of fresh-faced students gathering around him.
Hey, look at that girl!
I turned. A few feet away, a small group of boys were pointing at me and snickering.
Pink hair?
Pink hair? Are you kidding me?
How desperate can you get?
Hot shame crawled down my neck. I attached myself to a group of girls, following a few steps behind them. In the distance, cicadas hummed in time to my shoes crunching in the gravel. My hair. It wasn't my fault that my hair looked like this. Luckily, I found myself at the girls' dormitory. A large sign of the law reading Primrose House. The building dwarfed me in size and sheer intimidation. How many students did Asagao have? As I approached the building, a red-headed girl lingering nearby caught my attention. I looked away, then looked back. She was staring at me. She walked over.
Oh, you must be my roommate!
I eyed her warily. She was smiling and bouncing in a way that suggested her views on life were akin to a perpetual bouncy castle.
And me?
Bingo.
Of course, you silly! Let me guess, room 325?
I thought back to the paper I received a month prior with a list of all the supplies I needed for the year and my dorm arrangements.
Yeah, that's right.
She laughed, but I couldn't figure out what was so funny. Was she laughing at me?
When I found out that my roommate was a transfer student, I knew you were gonna be a total main character. I'm sorry. What?
Mm-hmm.
When I saw you outside the gate, I knew it was you. I mean, look at that hair!
I felt a lump forming in my throat. What was she talking about? She had to be making fun of me. I hadn't spent more than 5 minutes on campus and I was already being mocked. My hands began to tremble. Is there something wrong with my hair? Her face slackened from its amused smile to a more worried expression. Then she began to laugh again.
No, it's great!
No. It's great, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're getting up on the wrong foot, aren't we? Oh, gosh. I'm Mai Sasaki. You must be Hana.
She's doing all the lines for me, come on! I bowed my head.
Hello.
It's nice to meet you, Mai. All your school books are waiting in our room with your welcome letter, and I read the envelope. I hope you're not mad. Mai started walking towards the dorm's front doors. I followed behind like a lost puppy. Did you check in at the front desk already? No, I didn't. I didn't know I was supposed to. Good! I'll offer to have a staff member give you a tour of the campus, but I can show you around. We don't get many transfer students in year 3, you know. Oh, is that your only bag? Just the one? Damn character stealing my dog. They took my dog. I started already. I hope you don't mind. But I did wait to string the lights. I thought we could do it together, you know? She spoke quickly, the words bubbling from her mouth, and left me no time to answer until the end of her monologue. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. She held the front door open for me, and I hurried inside. Girls filed up and down the hallway, howling greetings and exchanging vague niceties that were, more often than not, "How's your bake?" and "Look at how tan you got!" It seemed like everyone knew each other. Followed Mai, she led me through the maze of students and up 2 flights of stairs. Each dorm floor looked the same as the last. Narrow, white doors lining both sides of the pale pink walls. Thin gold numbers were tacked to the front of each, the numbers rising as we climbed. You're not missing anything with the campus tour, I promise. Mr. Saitama does them every year and he's like, totally dull. He just drags you around the entire campus and talks in that weird squeaky voice of his. I'll tell you everything you need to know. I smiled, trying to let this calm my nerves. Thanks. We headed down a hallway on the 3rd floor. Mai stopped us in front of a door number 325. Here we are! A faint smell of potpourri wafted through the room. The walls, like the hallway, were a soft, powdery pink. Mai already defaced them with a tapestry of posters, magazine cutouts, and photographs. Some of the photos were of cats, but most were of male models and rock musicians. A bunk bed, 2 writing desks with wooden chairs, a small dresser, and a mirrored vanity, all clearly provided by the school, were the only pieces of furniture in the tiny room. The top bunk was already covered in neatly tucked blankets and throw pillows of clashing patterns and colors. The bottom bunk had a single stiff-looking pillow and a thin cotton blanket that I didn't need to touch to know how it was horribly itchy. I must have grimaced because Mai quickly smiled at me. I brought way too many pillows and blankets. I always overpack. I went to Italy over break and Mom got really mad at me because I brought 5 bags, but we were only there for a week. She laughed, pulled several blankets and pillows from her bunk, and rearranged them neatly on mine. A sudden twinge of guilt and embarrassment hit me.
Perfection.
There, that's much better. Thanks, Mai. I placed my suitcase on the bottom bunk and began to unpack its contents. Several changes of clothing, pens and pencils, empty notebooks, a few photographs of my father, a dilapidated stuffed rabbit, and an old portable radio in a small black box. Mai opened the curtains and the sunlight poured in. So, where are you from? I slipped the now empty suitcase under the bottom bunk. About 2 hours north of here. It's a small town called Amaririsu. You probably haven't heard of it. I set the stuffed rabbit, Mr. Bunny, on my bed beside a purple and teal throw pillow. Oh, did you go to a different boarding school, or? No, I went to a public school down the street from my house. Public school? What was that like? Were the students mean? Did you have a lot of friends? I always went to private schools. My parents worked a lot and my dad goes overseas, so I think they stuck me here for convenience. Oh, hey, what's that? I removed an ornately patterned origami crane from the black box and was setting it on the unclaimed writing desk. Oh, this? My mother made it for me a long time ago. I set it beside a stack of thick textbooks, which I assumed were provided for me.
Aww.
Wow, it's so pretty! I've never seen paper like that before. Oh yeah, the lights! Let me get them. Mai went to her own desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a long, tangled string of fairy lights. I thought these would look nice. Here, help me string them up. She grabbed a container of pushpins, then pulled her wooden chair out and over to one wall. I did the same with my own. Together we pinned the lights around the perimeter of the room. How was the train ride over? Did you meet anyone? No, not really. I was in a compartment with some guy and...
What?
Some guy, huh? Was he cute? Yeah, I guess. I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention. Oh, whoops. I didn't even get his name. Mai seemed disappointed for a moment, then perked back up. You'll have to point him out to me if you see him again. Okay. Once we finished stringing the lights, Mai climbed down from her chair and brushed her hands together triumphantly.
Yeah!
Done! Okay, now it's time for lunch. The food here is pretty good. There's this ramen place down the street from campus that's like out of this world. But the school only lets us leave campus on weekends. Maya walked to the window. We could go today because it's Sunday and it's pretty nice out, but I guess you might want to go to the cafe since you just got here. We could... She was suddenly interrupted by her own enthusiastic laughter. Oh my gosh, Mimi Sanders totally just tripped outside and fell on her face! I saw it! Oh, is that mean to laugh? Maybe I shouldn't have. Oh well. Anyways, let's go eat. I'm totally starved. She led me out of the room before I even had the chance to respond. The cafeteria was buzzing with students excited for the new year. The only people that are as nervous looking as I felt were the tables of skittish, wide-eyed first years. I stepped into the line behind Mai, taking an empty plastic tray. We shuffled through, asking for helpings from the sulky cafeteria workers, when we passed something that looked good. With full trays, Mai led me straight to a table in the back, where a few students were already sitting. Mai sat down, and I took a seat across from her. Hi, Mai, how was your break? It was good. I went to Italy and Spain. Dad fell off a ski jet and broke his ankle.
Uh-huh.
It's better now, though. Oh, well, that's nice. I expected to be introduced, but the girl turned back to her group of friends and Mai turned back to me. She began to assault her food with a fork and tell me, in a practically minute-by-minute account, about her fleeting romance last summer with a boy she met on the beach that didn't go further than a few salty kisses. I sat back and let Mai talk, for the first time since arriving on campus. I felt like I was finally able to breathe. I picked up my Brussels sprouts and studied Mai as she spoke. The more she talked, the more I began to notice small details about her.
Well...
She had a high songbird voice.
What?
She was dynamic, her face twisting this way and that into exaggerated expressions as she spoke. She laughed often. She intimidated people in wildly unflattering voices, seemingly unrelated to her actual opinion of them. But most notably, she talked. A lot. I didn't find this particularly annoying, as it filled the silence and she hardly ever asked questions that required my full attention. Just as Mai was rounding off a shockingly detailed account of the time she accidentally walked in on her friend's older brother in the act of changing, a flash of a familiar green caught her eye. I glanced over. Hey, that's him! Huh? Who? I leaned across the table to whisper, just in case he could hear me through the ambient chatter of the lunchroom. The boy from the train, that's him.
What?
Jared? Yeah, with a weird green jacket and the swoopy hair. He just picked up his tray and was walking past us when something seemed to catch his eye.
Oh, you.
I looked up at him, suddenly realizing he was talking to me.
Hana, I met you on the train. How are things settling down for you?
Really well. I found my roommate and she's been helping me out. I gestured to Mai, who was thunderstruck. In fact, looking around, everyone was. People stopped eating to turn and stare at Jared and me. My shoulders bunched around my neck.
Well, if you ever need any help, I'll be around. 3rd year, right?
I nodded.
All right.
Some of my friends are in that year. Of course, they can't compare to me, but I'll give them the heads up to look out for you.
He flashed a dazzling smile and then winked.
It's the least I can do for such a cute girl. Well, I'll see you around.
I watched and torrent of thoughts raging through my head as he took a seat next to a bunch of guys who were all wearing the same jacket. That's Jared! She tore her eyes away from him and looked at me.
He's so cute.
He's the most beautiful guy in school!
Oh,
I
Jared.
can't believe he just looked at me. No shame. I looked at Mai. Her cheeks were glowing in indecent pink. Why do they all wear those jackets? Aren't all the guys supposed to wear blue blazers as part of the uniform? No, they're allowed to. They're... You know Jared? That girl turned back around and was looking at me with sudden interest. Did I know him? I only talked to him on the train for a few minutes, so not really. We weren't friends or anything. But looking around, Mai and this girl weren't the only ones who were interested. Everybody seemed to be listening in. They seemed so surprised when he talked to me. Maybe a little white lie couldn't hurt? Not really. When I last played it, I said I guess so. I'm gonna say not really this time. Oh. She looked me up and down, sniffed, and turned away. Mai leaned towards me. Don't mind Mimi. She was just trying to get in with you. Get in with me? Why? Well, you asked me about those guys in their jackets, right? Those are their Normal Boots Club jackets. They're... what? What's Normal Boots Club? It's a club we have at school here. It's like totally exclusive and full of only the coolest students. They get together and play video games. Or something. That one right there is John, also known as JonTron. His bird's name is Jacques. John is also the president of the drama club here at school. Next to him is PBG. He and John founded the Normal Boots Club together. PBG is one of the best soccer players on our team. Then there's Gerard. People call him the completionist because he is obsessed with completing things. He has the biggest itty-bitty kitty collection I've ever seen. Next to him is Jared, also known as Pro Jared. He's a model. Then there's Satchbag, but everyone calls him Satch. He's like crazy smart. Those guys over there are Paul, Nick, and Josh. They write a column in the school newspaper called Continue. Paul, the one standing up, is the student council president. And the guy on the end there is Shane. He knows more about video games than anyone. Ever. She exhaled a dreamy sigh into her mashed potatoes. So, how would someone, join the Normal Boots Club? You don't choose the boots, Hana. The boots choose you. What does that even mean? You'll have to be presented with the boots to be in the club, and they're like super selective. What are the boots? The club is this boot statue. It's like the one on their patches, but it's gold-plated. It's their mascot, I guess. They do this weird initiation ritual with it. Ritual? I hear they fill a room with candles and wear those totally creepy robes during initiation. This year 2 girl said she saw it once and they were all like chanting around the boots and it sounded like they were talking backwards. But I don't believe her. And even if it's true, I don't care if they're a cult because they're all really hot. Do they have a lot of friends? Yeah, tons of friends. I'd say they're the most popular kids in school. I mean, everyone in school totally looks up to them. I bet they could get any girl in school too. Or a boy for that matter. Hey, are you gonna eat your cake? I shook my head and pushed the plastic tray across the table to her. For the remainder of lunch, I listened to Mai talk about Jared through mouthfuls of half-dissolved frosting. Back at the dorm, I sorted through the pile of textbooks the school left for me. My radio was playing a poppy tune, equal parts music to static. Mai fervently scribbled in a notebook at her desk, hunched over it with strikingly poor posture.
Hey!
I often do that too, like sitting like this, writing. It's not good for your back.
Fortunately, my back is pretty straight right now, but I do often, like, it does hurt quite often. Hey, Mai?
Mm-hmm.
She didn't bother to look up. Am I supposed to have a textbook for History 309? She shuffled through the papers on her desk before producing a thick textbook. A demure man in a powdered wig frowned at me from the cover. Yeah, this one! I sighed. I don't have that one. The school must have missed it. I shrugged and set the textbook back in her pile. They have a bunch at the library. You can just check one out. Where's the library? I riffled through her notebook and wrote something down. She tore the page out and handed me a crudely drawn map. Oh, okay, well, I'll be back in a little bit. It took me at least 20 minutes to find the library. By the time I realized, I was holding the map upside down. The sun was setting. Whoops. Oh, you get this transition again. It took me at least 20 minutes to find the library. By the time I realized I was holding the map upside down, the sun was setting. The library was much larger than I expected. The walls lined from floor to ceiling with books of all sizes on rough wooden shelves. Intimidated, I headed for the front desk. A recognizably green and gray jacket was bent behind the counter. Normal boots. I briefly considered running away.
Hey.
Can I help you? Too late. Yeah. The school forgot to give me one of... I have no idea what you're saying. Yeah, the school forgot to give me one of the... Thanks for the follow. Berativs. Thank you for the follow. Still, I can't read what you're saying. Yeah, the school forgot to give me one of my textbooks. I was told I could get it here. Which one is it? That's not a very good catch. The History 309 textbook. They stepped from behind the counter and motioned for me to follow. We dodged between the aisles in a comfortable silence. He seemed friendly enough. I should say something. What was his name again? Shane, Gerard, John? No, not John.
Satch.
Satch! Huh? Oh, you work here? Of course you worked here. He chuckled, dimples appearing in his cheeks. Yeah. I'm the librarian's assistant. It's my second year. And I love it. I get to help people find books that speak to them. His eyes twinkled like a kid's on Christmas. Your book's right down here. He stopped at a row of thick, dusty books. The only word from what you just said I can read is follow. I can read the letters, of course, but I have no idea what you're saying right now. He stopped at a row of thick, dusty books. Was this all history? And pulled out the book with the powder-wigged man I saw earlier. Thanks. He waved his hand. It was nothing. Do you need help with anything else? I wanted to make a good impression on the Normal Boots Club, but I couldn't come up with anything. No. Thanks.
Copacetic.
You're welcome. As we headed back through the cavernous library, my unease melted away. We weren't talking, but just being near him felt like you being wrapped in a soft blanket. I resisted the urge to snuggle up to him. We neared the front desk, stepping around a clump of studying students. As we passed, one of them shifted. Ah! Something white flew past my face. Troll, good streaming. Thanks. A thick piece of triangular paper lay at my feet. I bent over and picked it up. It was surprisingly heavy. There was a quarter inside of it. If I was just a hair slower, it would have hit me in the face. The students snickered and I recognized the boys that made fun of my hair this morning among them. My heart dropped. I scanned my memory for anything I might have done to offend them, but it came up with nothing. My hands started to shake. I hid it behind my back, trying to think of some way to defend myself. Why did you do that?
What do you mean?
We're just messing around. Are you suggesting we did it on purpose? I faltered. There's nothing I could say. I was outnumbered. They would twist my words around no matter how straightforward I was. No, sorry. One of the boys held his hand out for the paper. I inched closer to give it to him, angry at myself for being so compliant. I wish I were... A gentle warmth closed over my hand and took the paper from me. Satch examined the paper closely. I see what the problem is. Your aim would be better if you cut the corners before you folded it. He placed the paper on the table. The boy looked at him in sheer awe. Be careful though, you almost hit her. And that would have been awful. My Satch impression isn't really working for me. Afraid of the response. My hands began to sweat as panic shifted through me. Afraid of the response, but...
Geez, we're sorry. We'll be careful next time.
Yeah, it was an accident. They apologized? Thanks. I appreciate it. He gave them a wide smile and continued off down the aisles. I followed closely behind him, my legs weak. Don't tell me they stopped because of him, simply because I was with him? I wanted to thank him, but my heart was pounding so hard I knew my voice would shake. We reached the front counter and he scanned the history book. My lips trembled as I willed myself to say something, anything to thank him. He tilted his head to the side. What books do you like to read? Fiction? He chuckled. I just finished a good book. I think it'd be right up your alley, if you don't mind me saying so. He reached under the counter, pulled out a thick green book, and passed it to me. A man in black stood on the front, hugging a woman in royal robes. It's long, but it's one of my favorites, The Princess Betrothed. I know things can be tough transferring to a new school. If you're ever worried, just read this. It'll transport you 100 miles away in a second. Tears stung my eyes, so I ducked my head.
Satch.
Thank you, Satch. For more than just the books.
Oh. Is this better? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I got your name.
My name is Hana Mizuna.
I'm a transfer student.
Hana.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Hana. Let me know how you like the book.
I will.
That couldn't have gone better. Not only was Satch impossibly kind, but being around him felt easy, refreshing. Like being doused in the mist of a waterfall. Oh gosh, what was I thinking? My cheeks hot, I left the library, 2 surprisingly heavy books under one arm. I settled into bed, eager to get started with my new reading material, but Maya was sitting at her desk, carving a pencil idly into the pages of a notebook. Every few times she released a long, drawn-out sigh as the lead of her pencil whined against the paper. I lowered my book and took the bait. Is something wrong, Mai? She let out another dreary sigh. I hope Jarrett notices me this year. Does Jarrett know you like him? Mai whirled around in feigned shock.
What?
I don't like Jared! Oh. I closed my book and set it aside, decided to play along.
Well...
Well, have you at least tried talking to him? No. I mean, I have before. Why didn't you try again? She bobbed her head from side to side, considering this like it never crossed her mind before. Yeah, maybe I could do that. Satisfied, I picked my book back up. Have you ever had a boyfriend, Hana?
What?
Huh? Me? No, never.
Really?
Really? Never? Never. I bet you 10,000 yen that you meet a totally cute boy here and fall in love by the end of the school year. You're crazy! I buried my face back in the books, barring Mai from any further discussion. Fall in love by the end of the year? Me? If I were a betting kind of girl, I'd take that bet. I awoke the next morning with what felt like a lizard in my throat. I can't remember what that was from, but it sounds familiar. Maya was already up, shuffling through her school bag with an enigmatic grin. The first day of school. Hana, you're finally awake! Her voice sliced through the air like a knife, and I winced. She was definitely a morning person. It's time for the first day of school! Aren't you excited? I can't wait to see what's going to happen! What do you mean? Is something special happening today? Something strange always happens on the first day of school, especially to someone like you. She winked.
What?
Someone like me?
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean. She smiled and started messing with a pile of papers on her desk. Shaking my head, I got out of bed and pulled my uniform out of the closet. My palms sweat as I held the gold vest and blue jacket. Was it really possible for things to be different here than they were at home? What if the problem wasn't actually the school? I shook the thoughts out of my head and changed into my uniform. Oh! What is it?
Aww.
You look so cute!
Really?
Really? Heat crept up my neck.
Yeah!
Yes! Completely! Your hair matches your uniform so well! You look like a flower blooming straight out of the ground! Thank you. Water stung in the back of my eyes, and I turned to start packing my backpack. Why is it getting... Okay, calm down. Okay. Why was I getting so worked up about something as little as this? I must have gotten less sleep than I thought. Is something wrong? No, nothing is wrong. I'm just happy. How dumb was that? I started crying at the first sign of someone being nice to me? I took a deep breath to steady my nerves. What an oddly menacing laugh. All the air left my lungs as something like horse hooves slammed against my back. You'll do just fine. Don't worry, this is gonna be awesome. I stiffly peered over my shoulder. That was you?
What?
Huh? Maya stood behind me, her hand raised. Somehow she had the strength of a bodybuilder. Nothing. I was just about to zip my bag up when I spotted the books Hatch gave me lying on my nightstand. The Princess Betrothed. He said that if I ever needed to be transported somewhere far away, I could take it with me. It was pretty good so far. Maybe it would be smart to bring it along, just in case I had no one to talk to between class periods. Would I need it for my first day of class? Take it. I put it into my already overfull bag, biting my lip. It never hurt to be prepared, right? You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Stick with me and you'll be fine.
I still had OBS up, so I can only now read the chat. So yeah, anytime. Mai opened the door, and together we stepped into the hallway, merging into a steady flow of chittering girls and fruit-flavored perfume. Oh my! I did not know we lived on the same floor. No way! Really? That's so awesome! Now I'll be able to catch up. Whatever happened between you and... The river of girls shifted as we headed down the stairs. Suddenly I found myself surrounded by a bunch of people I didn't know.
What a jerk.
Oh wow, what a jerk he turned out to be! Mai's exclamations faded into the buzz of voices in the air. Oh no, what would I do if we got separated? Anxiously I searched the crowd of girls for Mai, but I couldn't find her. Everyone was dressed in the same Asagao uniform, and it was difficult to tell anyone apart. And being so short really didn't help the situation. As we turned the last corner down the stair, I saw a flash of red hair, a little ways in front of me. Mai? I reached between the two girls and tapped her on the shoulder. Huh? Oh, who are you? The girl's eyes flashed, almost like a jolt of electricity shot through them. I'm sorry, I thought you were someone else. She said nothing and turned away. Before I knew it, I stood outside of Primrose House, watching the flow of girls disperse across the campus. Mai was nowhere to be seen. I couldn't even hear her chirpy voice. Hold on. Hi. Yeah, I can imagine. Mai was nowhere to be seen. I couldn't even hear her chirpy voice. Oh man. I took a deep breath, biting my lip. This wasn't a big deal. I could go to class alone. But I didn't even know where the building was. I reached into my backpack and dragged out my class schedule. Homeroom 206. Poppy Hall? Which one was Poppy Hall again? Weren't the classrooms on the other side of the campus? I picked a direction and began to walk, trying to ignore my rising panic at the thought of arriving late to the first day of class. As a third year, where no one knew me, all of the people staring.
Hey!
Hey! You okay? You look a little lost. Someone called out to me, and I turned around, almost jumping for joy, when I froze. A Normal Boots jacket! He was part of the Normal Boots Club! I could practically feel my tongue swell in my mouth. If this was a Normal Boots Club member, I had to make a good impression. He was one of the founders, right? Then he must be... Jontron! Yes. I'm new. I don't know where Poppy Hall is. You a freshman? No problem. My class is in Poppy Hall. I walk you there.
Really?
Really? That would be wonderful. Thank you. Was this really happening?
He began walking toward a large brick building in an enthusiastic manner, pumping his arms up and down like he was in some kind of show tune. I fell into a step beside him. I didn't notice it when Mai pointed them out to me yesterday, but Jontron had big brown eyes and a warm-looking face. He was basically a human puppy. I glanced up at him out of the corner of my eye.
Ew! A bird! A bird on his shoulder!
Birds always make me uncomfortable. Something about the ease with which they could poke out someone's eyes. Yeah, you gotta be careful with birds, but... Is something wrong? Why'd you stop?
No, nothing's wrong. He followed my gaze to the bird on his shoulder.
Hey!
Oh, this is Jacques. Isn't he cute? Nice to meet you. Wait. Nice to meet you. Does the mic pick that up? It spoke? Yeah. He put his hand to his shoulder. Jacques jumped into his palm. Jacques is a robot bird, see?
Hello.
Jacques' eyes gleamed a dangerous red when he spoke, but nothing else suggested he wasn't a normal bird. Thank you. In fact, if I hadn't known better, I would have said the red in his eyes was painted on. That's amazing! Jacques twitched his head to the side, examining me in return. The more he looked at me, the less afraid I was.
What are you looking at? What are you looking at?
What?
What? Nothing, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, Jacques can be a little sassy.
Who are you calling sassy? I am not the sassy one. I don't forget to feed you.
Jacques, that was one time!
I was alone and starving in the frozen tundra of this empty world, loveless, afraid.
Ignore him. I've been bringing him with me to the drama club, and he's taken a little too well to it.
I see how this is. Shut me out like I have nothing to add to the conversation.
Jacques retook his place on John's shoulder, this time facing away from us as if miffed. We resumed our walk towards Poppy Hall. I'm JonTron, by the way. Call me John. Hana, nice to meet you. Hana? That's a cute name. Thank you. So how long have you had Jacques? I keep saying Jax. Since middle school. We've been together for 4 years now. Ain't that right? Wow, that turned into a different voice. Ain't that right? Ain't that right? John has a little bit of a difficult voice for me, but if I, do everything in my throat, it seems to work pretty well.
I'm not listening.
Yeah, well, I love him to death. I don't know what I'd do without him. It seemed like life would be a lot easier without him, but who was I to say? We arrived at the brick building. A white sign surrounded by poppies declared it to be, unsurprisingly. Okay. Unsurprisingly. There. Poppy Hall. Which room are you in? Room 206. Really? Seriously? Yes. That's my homeroom! We're in the same class! John laughed and clasped me on the shoulder. Wonderful! I guess I'll be seeing more of you then, right?
Yeah.
Right. Together we entered Poppy Hall. Poppy Hall was lined with fluorescent lights and Asagao blue lockers. The lack of students milling around in the hallway indicated we were a bit late. We ran up the stairs and made it into the classroom just as the bell rang. My heart caught in my throat. Thankfully, the teacher hadn't come yet. Instead, students clumped into tight pods and milled around the classroom, catching up on vacation news.
John.
Thank you so much for showing me to class, John.
See you later.
No problem. I'll see you around. He waved and disappeared into the wriggling mass of students. I glanced around the room, looking for an empty seat. Hana! Mai peeled herself out from between a cuddling couple. Was that JonTron? Were you just talking to JonTron? I can't talk today! Were you just talking to JonTron? Yeah. Well, his eyes widened and I couldn't help feeling a little smug. I realized I didn't know the way to class after you and I got separated, and he offered to walk me. Mai had a highly pressurized squeal. Pressurized squeal. JonTron walked you to class? Oh my god! Oh my gosh, you have to tell me everything! She grabbed me by the wrist and pulled me to an empty desk in the back corner of the room, right next to the window. I saved you a seat! I slid in and took off my backpack, hooking it on the side of my desk. I was a little bit worried the books inside were too heavy for the bag to handle, but so far it held up well. Sorry we got separated, by the way. It can get a little chaotic sometimes. So tell me, what happened? What did he say? What did he smell like? Does he have peach fuzz? Is it rough? Oh, wait, what? These are very important questions I'm asking. You need to answer them. Was his hair super silky, or did it have the roughness of a dog's coat? Before I could answer, the door to the front of the room slid open, and a tall woman strolled in. The class went quiet and obediently slid into their seats. My heart beat furiously, blood rushing through my ears.
Class?
Good morning, class. The teacher's melodious voice swam through the room, calming the buzzing high of students back from break. My shoulders relaxed and my fear ebbed away. I'm your teacher, Shizuka Wakahisa. You may call me Miss Shizuka. The emphasis she placed on the word led me to believe calling her Mrs. wasn't a mistake she would take lightly. Some of you might have noticed that we have a new student this semester. A hail of murmurs passed through the class. Some people glanced at me. No, there was the fear again. Would you like to come up and introduce yourself? I nodded, stood, and slowly walked to the front of the room, counting my steps to make sure I wouldn't fall. I faced the class, took a deep breath to introduce myself, and noticed a familiar face in the crowd. There was John, sitting with the two other boys wearing normal Boots Club jackets. One of the boys, the tallest one, was staring at me, the barest of frowns on his face. Something about him seemed really familiar. Whoops. Wait, he was PBG, wasn't he? The other founder of the Normal Boots Club? Suddenly all the strength left my knees. What should I do? Why was he frowning? Was it possible that I already made a bad impression on him? You had to be kidding me. If he didn't like me, what did that mean about everyone else? Wouldn't they follow his lead? I swallowed. The faces of the class began to congeal, forming one giant blob. Whoa, what happened there? You moved from Amaririsu, right? I nodded and swallowed again. Then, like a beacon of light, I noticed Mai smiling and gave me a thumbs up. That's right. What would Mai do in this situation?
Yes.
Yes.
I just moved here. My name is Hana Mizuno. I transferred from Amaririsu Public High School. I'm really excited to be here. I hope you'll all take good care of me from now on.
I bowed my head to the class and they clapped politely. When I looked up, PBG wasn't frowning, but he still seemed oddly confused. Maybe he always looked like that. Thank you. You may be seated. Hold on. I returned to my seat, heaving a small sigh. The hardest part of the day was over. Shizuka began to talk about the standard procedure for the semester. Okay, I'll take a quick break. See you in a few minutes.